Hi guys, it's Mr. B here, and today in this video we're going to be looking at parenthesis. We're going to be looking at what it is and how we can put it into sentences. Okay, now parenthesis again is one of them things in English where it sounds really complicated, but it's not really. Okay, we use parenthesis for two reasons. It's there to add extra information to our sentences or as an afterthought. So extra information here, the man from Del Monte went home. Or we've got here as an afterthought, the man went home, he was tired. This here is our parenthesis, okay? So it's important that the parenthesis, so the extra information that you put in, when you take it out, your sentence still makes sense. So if we took this out, the red underlined parenthesis, we would have the man went home. That sentence makes sense on its own. Again, with this one, the man went home, it's the same sentence, it will make sense without this information. Only difference between these two is an afterthought is normally something extra information you think of after the fact, so it is after the sentence has been wrote. Now we put parentheses into our sentences in three different ways. We either use brackets, and this is the most common one, which is why I've used brackets for those two examples, and then we also have commas and dashes. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at sentences, how we can use these three to put parentheses in, and then we're going to look at really in depth how sentences need to make sense without the parentheses. So here we've got the same sentence with the same parenthesis in the middle of the sentence, but I've used the three different ways we can put it in order to show you how it works. So we have the cat walked past is our sentence. Remember, if we take it out, it makes sense on its own. So if I take out this parenthesis, which is in black in the middle of the sentence, we have the cat walked past, it makes sense on its own. But our parenthesis from down the street here, I've got it with commas either side. Here I've got it with brackets either side, and here I have it with dashes either side. And it works the same with all three of them. You need one at the start and one at the end, so you can see where you've put the parenthesis in. Now, the main thing people normally ask is, which one do we use? Now, it is actually completely up to you. Either way of these three, you can choose, and that would be right. It's more a preference of style. Now, this one, our brackets, tend to see a lot more. That one seems to be a more common one, simply because our dashes tend to be used more for afterthought. So before we said they add extra information or afterthought. If you have an afterthought on the end and you're writing some story or some fiction, something like that, a dash can be used because we don't need to close it off. And commas tend not to be used as much for parenthesis because they can get mixed up with other commas from different subordinating clauses and relative clauses, things like that. So if we use them, it can start to get a little bit mixed up. So brackets tend to be used a lot more. But all in all, it's up to you. As long as you know how to use them and they use them correctly, you can use either way you want. And a lot of different authors, when they're writing books, use them for different reasons. The brackets really stick out in a sentence. They can tend to be seen in lots of information text, things like that. Dashes tend to be used more by authors who are trying to set a certain mood, because you can see that it sticks out in the sentence, but when you just look at the page, you can't see it. Commas, like I say, it makes a sentence look like a normal sentence that it doesn't have parenthesis in. So that might be someone who's trying to make more of a natural looking sentence. But again, completely up to you. If you struggle with them and you think, I don't know how to put them in properly, I would always stick with brackets. They're the safest bet. Lastly, what we're going to look at again is just about how the sentence needs to make sense when we take the parenthesis, our extra information or our afterthought out. Okay, seems simple straight away. Yeah, you can just take it out and it'll make sense. But sometimes when we're writing sentences, we can get a little bit carried away, and if we don't check it, we can make an easy mistake. An example like here on the board. We have the sentence, the director, and then our parenthesis, and his assistant arrived on set. Now that makes sense, because if I take this out and just say the director arrived on set, it makes sense. However, we can easily make a mistake if we don't check, like this sentence here. The director and his assistant were arriving at 10 o'clock. Now, if I take this parenthesis out, the sentence is, the director were arriving at 10 o'clock. It's wrong because this shouldn't be were. Okay, that could only be were if this wasn't in our parenthesis, because we'd have two people. So that's where we can make little mistakes. All you need to do, if you're using parentheses, read your sentence back without it in. Does it sound right? Have you used it correctly? Apart from that, that's all you need to know about parenthesis. Not as hard as they actually sound, and if you keep going with that, you'll be fine. Till next time, see you later. Hope you found that video useful, guys, and if you have, please give it a thumbs up. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. You'll get notifications of any videos that I put up as and when I do. Please share it if you know anyone that will benefit from this and find it useful. And if you've got any questions or anything, comment or use the Twitter or the Facebook page. Till next time, see you later.